interest. We declared them in relation to this item on the last agenda, so how many have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, 7. Can I formally thank Jackie Weaver for the excellent work she's done in producing the paper. I don't know if it was a hospital mass I gave at the last meeting or not, but she rose to the challenge. Thank you very much. Would you like to introduce this item and describe where you think we are?
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you for using my name at least 3 times in the last 10 minutes to make sure that nobody forgot it. And I won't make that fourth by introducing myself again. Yes, indeed. When you handed this to me almost less than a month ago, I think, I was happy in the context of that meeting to come back with some kind of paper, which I think has gone some way towards taking ownership of that agenda. I'm mindful of the fact that there are a number of parish council representatives here this evening who will not have been consulted on this. There was no intention, given the timescale that you were working on, to do that. But I think it is important, because of that, to make reference to the fact that this was not actually a blank sheet of paper. And what I've done, with some support from Alison Armstrong and also from Penny Housley, is to try to pull together the aspirations of the committee, but also to look at what would be in the interests of town and parish councils, in the sense of being able to leverage in some support for parish councils from the principal authority. So I probably have failed miserably in both ends, and I'm comfortably sat in the middle between both of you. So let's see how that goes. I reiterate, this was not a blank sheet of paper to start off with. But there were some things in this that I think will get general support from your town and parish councils in the first instance. There was a requirement to map the current relationships between parish councils and Cheshire West and Chester. There'll be a number of things in the list that people have in front of them, that's both members and the parish representatives, that I think will get general support, because they are issues that parishes themselves and perhaps the previous authorities have been struggling with in the past. So some of this ain't new to the rest of us. A review of the local charter, I think, was recognised as being something that was overdue, and is something that I think there will be some appetite from among the parishes. A review of the Quality Council scheme. I think that among our own members there is some nervousness about the quality scheme itself, and indeed the issue for the relationship between those specific quality councils and the principal authority. And I think it will be a good exercise to do some work around that and to test the value to both parties, if you will. Parish planning. I think, although something that's not immediately linked to the parish council directly, because it is an arm's length process that we're involved in, I think it's important that we look at what the relationship is between those town and parish councils, the parish planning process, and how Cheshire West might influence or support that process. And also, there has long been a sense, I think, among the parish council movement, that there is a need for principal authority councillors to better, and officers as well, I may add, to better understand the town and parish councils that they work with. I know that many, clearly from the declaration of interest earlier, there are many members who are also members of parish councils. But one of the things that has kept me in a job for the last 13 years is that nobody has yet been able to define a parish council. And in fact, they come in all shapes and sizes, and a member's experience of their own parish council, good or bad, does not necessarily reflect across the whole parish. And there is a need to help members and officers of the principal authority understand that relationship. I think that the other two that I have left out, I'll deal with in this order. I think that as we have moved towards the unitary status, the relationships that we had built up with our principal authorities and the support that we had for the development of a grown-up way of looking and training and working with the ethical standards agenda has temporarily been lost. Parish councils for the moment are simply left to work through the ethical standards as best they can with support from CHALC. Nobody funds that, not even the Standards Board, I may add. So So I think that I welcome seeing a review of that on the agenda. I'm a little less confident, and I hope that I, in this instance, will speak for members that are here this evening, in item B, which was a review of the local council representation on the community forums, etc. I left this in because it did seem to be very much something that the committee itself was enthusiastic about. But I must say that at this moment, given that we are still getting to grips with how that will work, I'm a little less confident that that is something that parish councils will have an appetite for in terms of dealing with it through the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, not that they're not actively looking to see what arrangements work locally.
So I've had the opportunity to have a few discussions about this particular work programme behind the scenes, and the idea that we've had, subject to the committee approving it, is that we establish 2, perhaps 3 task and finish groups to look at elements of the areas of reference. I want to come back and look specifically at the wording of those in due course. But the thought process is that, for example, we would have 3 or 4 Cheshire West and Chester councillors on each of the task and finish groups, and we'd have 3 or 4 matching numbers of town and parish councillors joining us in relation to the particular task and finish groups, deliberately making sure that the numbers are equal. The hope is that whatever is produced is consensus anyway, so numbers don't really matter in terms of what's going on.
Thank you, Chairman. I chair Great Wharton Parish Council that Councillor Pamela Hall serves on. And I should say, in regard to what Alison said earlier, we had our meeting this morning and it was extremely useful. So a lot of good things came out of that. But I am concerned about misunderstandings about dual rating. It does affect the whole area. In Chester, it caused resentment that those of us in parished areas, through our general rate fund, were paying for the unparished parts of Chester, such as Blacon and Hanbridge and Westminster Park. We are now paying for the unparished areas of Cheshire West, including Ellesmere Port and those parts of the borough that are unparished. We are paying through our general rate fund for facilities across the whole borough. If we want sports facilities or play facilities in our parish, we then have to pay through our parish precept. And there are in some quarters views that parishes can fend for themselves, don't have social disadvantage, don't have economic disadvantage, are able to pay their precept and therefore pay over and above the Cheshire West and Chester precept for the facilities that the unparished areas get of right. That is why it is an issue. This year, my parish council has over £10,000 less because of the loss of the dual rating grant. We have also, in the past, been fortunate in having grants from the former Chester City Council of about £5,000 a year to pay for our play equipment. Even with those grants, it has always been difficult for our urban parish to have anything like the range and quality of play equipment that there is in the unparished areas. We also fund a PCSO. My parish precept next year is going to be severely threatened because of the loss of dual rating, because possibly of the loss of some of these grants for play equipment. And if we want to carry on having those facilities in our parish over and above what the unparished people are paying in terms of their precept, my parish will have to pay more. And that's why it is an issue.
Thank you for those comments. Obviously, the place to make that is a task and finish group, because we are not equipped with the data tonight to consider or arbitrate on it. But clearly, it is an issue. It is out there. It's an issue that has very much been focused on the Chester area. I take the point you're making that it has wider implications and wider effects. You may say that, but I have to tell you, as someone who is a councillor outside those areas, it's not felt. Whether it's there or not, it's not perceived. But that doesn't matter, because you're raising a very valid point that needs looking at in detail. Anyway, thank you very much. That brings me rapidly on to item 9, which I'm intending to note, unless anybody wishes to go into it. Thank you very much, Councillor Merrick.
Can I say it's a lovely venue, a very nice meeting, but you can't hear you from there backwards. And I think it's extremely disappointing that a principal authority would hold a meeting with no loop for the deaf and no facilities for us to hear you. And I'd like that to be noted.
I agree.
That's noted. Thank you very much. Thank you everybody for attending. I very much appreciate it, and I will try and keep meetings as swift as this next time.